Right
funny if
now.
it would be funny if all this conversation was live, especially with kicking off with Matt talking about his prostate exam.
Great. I think that's the very start of this episode. Oh boy. Oh no, there are Bojangles in Georgia. Sweet. Not many, but they're there.
Darn it.
But Bojangles.
Did you guys?
Good.
Which do you think is a better gamer tag? Bantha fodder or really expendable?
I'd say really expendable. If you're gonna go Bantha fodder, you gotta say Bantha poodoo.
Bantha poodoo? I can expect
like
that.
The way they say it in Huttese, so they're like, "You're Bantha poodoo."
How do you spell poodoo? P-O-D-O? Or is it U-D-O?
I think it's Poodoo.
I love how this is how the episode is starting tonight.
Wait, for real? You went live again
Yes,
without us telling
I
you?
said right when you said the prostate thing. That was when we started.
Hey, no way.
There is a way. We've been live for 1 minute and 10 seconds.
And you haven't kicked us off here? What is this?
Well, I'd love to hear everyone else's thought. I'm also open to cannon fodder.
Poodoo.
Okay, so that is the official way.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another fantastic episode of Randomness. I don't even know what's going on anymore. I got on
I don't understand how you start this episode when we're just shooting the bull, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Hey, we've been live for 3 minutes."
You
great,
said,
all right.
"Let's start the episode," and I'm like, "Okay, I'm starting it right now." And then you said prostate exam, and I'm like, "Well, that was a fantastic way to start the episode. I can't believe we started with that." And then we kept going on.
Yeah, because then Tyler had a question because we didn't think we were live.
It's not my fault.
True story.
I was told to go live. I pressed the button.
You did tell him to go live. I will say that.
That's true, I did. I'm not denying that. I told you live. I just didn't. I thought he would give us a warning.
Bantha fodder is already
warning
taken
was
as
I
a
was
gamer
told
tag.
to go live.
So sad.
Okay.
For that gamer tag.
Gosh.
Alright, here we go.
Here we go. Let's talk some football.
So this episode is going to operate a little bit different compared to other episodes. We're taking just a little bit of a break from doing a lot of our upcoming game predictions and predictions from the past. I guarantee you as we go through this episode here, we will be talking about some of the most recent matchups, even the ones from this past week, maybe discussing what is coming up starting tomorrow with Thursday Night Football. But some of the things we want to do here is we want to more solely focus on some for the fun topics, some things that aren't necessarily related to upcoming events, but more what could translate into the future, like awards, like certain teams that have done well this season, some that haven't panned out, and then we're just going to have a little fun on top of it here. So, without further ado, gentlemen, let's kick this off here because I feel like this is a good way to kind of go into how we're thinking the season is going right now. And that is with just us talking about the surprises and disappointments as far as teams this season. So I want to just to have us gauge, read the room sort of thing, talking about who we think these teams are that are doing really, really well. They've been pleasant surprises as far as how well they've been doing. And then we'll talk about the teams that have just been downright disappointing.
Can we just rule out right now all of our preferred football teams as unavailable for the disappointment? Because I think all of us are extremely disappointed.
Nope.
Well, okay.
Not
Here's
allowed.
I want you to expound on that a little bit, Tyler, because for me personally, it is not surprising to me that the Bears have done as poorly as they have. So I think that's the thing too. If we're talking about is it a surprise that they've been disappointing? Well, no, not for the Bears, and I don't know if that's been the case for anyone else with their franchises. Matt, maybe that exists for you just because the Patriots were projected to be a potential number 1 overall pick at the beginning of the season.
I won't say they're a disappointment for at least me personally. I knew, based on who they chose and kind of how they drafted, it wasn't going to be a good season. So for me, it wasn't a surprise or a disappointment. It was like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. Just because how they drafted. So it's like, I'm not disappointed and I'm not surprised.
Gotcha. I just want to try and apply that logic here because the example that I'm going to use here, and I did not have this team listed as a disappointment, but I want to bring this team up because I want to say, just amongst the four of us, are we really surprised that this team was disappointing? And that is the New York Jets. Are any of us surprised that this turned into a total train wreck?
No. Now, I'm surprised on how much, quote unquote, fat is being trimmed.
I'm not.
It's like,
Okay,
wow, I
as
guess
much-
Aaron
yeah.
Rodgers is in the driver's seat. He's like, fire everyone except for me.
Rodgers is
I'm not the problem.
Rodgers is the quarterback, the coach, the GM. He might as well be the owner too.
Right?
Well,
Might
he's
as
the owner
well.
of the Bears, so he can't be the owner
Yeah.
of the Jets, too.
I mean, Jordan Love is also the owner of the Bears after this past week.
But hey, you know how the Packers do it. There's more than one owner.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently there's 3 now.
Yep. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I mean, I will say I'm disappointed in my team because Trevor Lawrence got hurt last year, and we went from like being a 8-3 team to missing out on the playoffs, and then this year it's like, okay, well, Trevor's healthy again. We got a couple of good pickups, and everything is just dying. And I'm still surprised that no one's been fired yet.
Yeah, that's gonna be the end of the season, just like a lot of the Bears.
Which makes me sad because I'm like, ooh, I like Ben Johnson. I would love Ben Johnson as my head coach, who's going to do all the play calling.
Yeah. How about I say this? How about I turn the direction here with that as far as disappointments, going to what was prefaced here at the beginning of this section. Matt, you didn't necessarily going into the season have high hopes for the Patriots. Shane, you thought they were going to do well, the Jaguars, maybe make a wild card, but you didn't expect them to be a top contender for the AFC South, correct? And for me, for the Bears, I really had a feeling that maybe we'd get off to a strong start, but then we'd fall apart at the end. The wheels would come off and we'd finish at the bottom of the NFC North. Now, Tyler, your Atlanta Falcons were essentially projected to win their division, and now there's some doubt being cast upon that. Care
Yes.
to elaborate your feelings?
Well, McKay, let me be honest with you. It's been rather disappointing. And I think the thing that hurts the most is there's games that we've lost that definitely feel like we shouldn't have lost. There's games that we've lost that have kind of disrupted the season substantially to the point where now most fans don't think we will win the division, let alone deserve to win the division, despite the fact that we've beaten the Bucs. But I will say this. Of all the teams that have disappointed me this year, the Falcons aren't the worst, but they definitely are the most personal.
Sure. I get that. Can I just as a follow-up question, I think, as far as the next comes the question is who is there to blame? Shane, for the Jaguars, you're going to blame coaching.
I'm going coaching and GM, because the Gabe
Yeah.
Davis thing I was never a fan of.
Okay, so there you go for one. For me, I'm mostly going to blame coaching. Matt, you probably won't blame coaching. We already kind of knew that there'd be some rebuild here, so they just got to grow the roster. Would that be about right?
I won't say Mayo's screwing up yet, but I feel like the front office is the only ones to blame this year because they did not draft any offensive weapons besides Drake May.
Yeah, so there. Okay, so that's who you can point the finger at.
It's like, come on.
Yeah, so Tyler, who do you point the finger at?
It's really hard to say. We have a essentially new coaching staff, so it could be growing pains. We tried to make some good preseason decisions on bringing some people in to help with our defense, but I think at the end of the day, the defense is really what's been hurting us. And so is it defensive coordinating? Is it, I don't know. And you can't solely call it defense because, our offense could be winning these games too, but they're not. I don't know.
Let me tell you, Ryan Nielsen isn't doing that much better in Jacksonville either.
Well, some comfort.
One thing I want to say, though, with Atlanta, and Tyler, tell me your feelings upon this. I know that, sometimes mistakes get made. It isn't the great playing that we were expecting it to be, but Kirk Cousins, love him, hate him, he's an improvement over Desmond Ridder or Taylor Heineke. And
Right.
I think that shows with, how there has been a higher level of output from the likes of Draymond, for example, or Kyle Pitts, who have been there, for more than just this season.
Yeah, Kyle
Right.
Pitts actually decent this year.
But do you feel like they're utilizing Bijan properly? It's better than
I
last
think
season. I get that.
yes, definitely better. Is he the center of the team? No. Do I think that any one player should be the center of the team? Also no.
Mhm.
I don't know. I look at some of these crazy good running backs that lead their team, and I think it's fantastic. But it almost always leads to injury. It almost always leads to some sort of burnout. And so I don't want that to happen to Bijan. If I think our entire offense rides or dies on Bijan having a good game, I don't think that's a great way to play. I think they've been sharing the load, and I like the way they've been doing it. I don't know that I would change a whole lot there. Obviously, would we essentially throw it / have him run it just about every play, and would it be better than just about anyone else? There's a good chance, but I don't think that's how we should play.
I mean, hey,
Right, and
Derrick
I
Henry
understand.
carried the Titans for like 10 years.
Right,
Well,
but they didn't ever go anywhere.
Oh,
Like,
no, they did. They did go somewhere.
did they?
Yeah, AFC Championship game.
Yeah, but that was more of Mike Vrabel's coaching, I feel like, than anything else.
I mean, yeah, but also.
And a little bit of luck, if we're being honest there, catching the Ravens off guard after their bye, and then upsetting the Patriots towards the end of the Brady era there.
I will say though, Derrick Henry, he didn't really ever get injured and never really got burned out.
I would agree with that. More what I want to say, yeah, if we're talking Bijan, yes, we understand that it's probably not the best idea to use Bijan kind of the way that Derrick Henry is used to the Titans, or let's say right now, Saquon Barkley is used by the Eagles.
Right.
But I think the thing is the way that they seem to be applying it at the Falcons is, okay, let's have, Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier kind of be these two players. It's like, okay, we trade off as far as being a 1-2 punch for being running back. And it's looking more like something you'd see in Pittsburgh with Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, which isn't that impressive compared to what you would expect from Algier and Bijan Robinson is what you're seeing with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. You get what I'm coming from? It's like that's more what I was expecting to see with the Falcons.
That's the ideal scenario.
Right.
Yeah. And so I'm just wondering, how do you change that where it does look more like what the Lions are doing with their two backs?
That's a great question. I mean, they're averaging pretty good carries every time they do. And so maybe it comes down to a question of maybe we need to trust more to the run. Or maybe we just need a stronger offensive line. But they don't, statistically, they're doing, both of them, even Algier is doing extremely well as a running back for the Falcons.
Right.
Yards per carry, he looks awesome. And
it just doesn't translate to win.
Right, but that obviously is not translating to wins. And so then maybe it is a play calling thing. Maybe it is something where in the red zone where we can't ever seem to complete, and then we seem to be going to our kicker who seems to be inconsistent. Maybe some changes need to be made there.
Yeah, might be right. That's a lot of good thoughts. I like you bringing that up because I know we don't necessarily want to say, the Falcons have been the major disappointment here to talk about, but it's just interesting to kind of dissect them a little bit. And the reason being is because, yes, they haven't panned out the way we thought they would, but they're also not out of the running. Whereas I feel like some of these other teams we're going to talk about, they could potentially be out of the running. And we also have, before we get into our disappointments, let's at least talk about a couple of surprise teams that we've looked at. Someone here in this group, throw out a team, throw out a name.
Commanders.
Yes, amen.
Big one. They are no longer in first place of their division, though, but they could probably get a wild card, wouldn't we say?
That's my bet.
Yeah. Jaden Daniels obviously looks great. He's arrived faster than I thought he would. Dan Quinn is doing a great job as a coach there. I'd say they are definitely a surprise because they were at the top for as long as they were. Anyone want to add to that? If not, I got another name.
Hit us.
I think we need to bring up the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
Yes, that's fair.
Again, kind of talking about the Falcons here. The Falcons are supposed to have that high offensive explosive output, but we know the Broncos defense is good, and that clearly showed in this last game.
Yes, it did.
And don't underestimate Bo Nix either. Bo Nix has been doing
I-
pretty solid.
I've been
Yeah.
saying it at the beginning of the season. I'm not surprised with Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wish the Patriots would have picked him up because they could have traded down or something just to kind of get him and then maybe get a better draft pick for like an offensive player because everyone was sleeping on Bo Nix.
It's true. He was the last of the major QBs in the first round taken.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, there's Michael Penix. We just haven't seen him play at all.
Yeah, the Penix was taken before Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
that
was.
feels like it might have been a mistake, but I guess we'll still see.
Yeah.
To give
Um,
you the Packers had Jordan Love sit for like 4 years, and look at him now.
He's mediocre.
Nice.
Woo!
Hey,
Oh!
he's still
Oh,
the
man.
Bears owner.
Yep, but he has to rely on the Bears goofing up the kick and the block in order to get a win.
Yep.
The
All right,
double
any
point
other-
Avengers return.
Yep, no kidding. Any other surprise teams you want to talk about? I got 2 other names, but I want to hear if anyone else has got some they want to talk about.
We're talking about surprise good still, right?
Yes, as in good. Yes.
Good. The Minnesota Vikings
Yeah.
Yeah.
and Sam
yeah.
Darnold.
I was gonna say, I would attribute more Sam Darnold than the Vikings themselves, because I think the Vikings have a good
Right.
team, but there were a lot of question marks at quarterback.
Yeah.
And I do wonder if the Vikings are going to start to regress going later into the season, and you'll more see, obviously, number 1, the Lions, and probably the Packers at 2.
Yeah.
All right, I'll throw one last one out really quickly, not to discuss super in depth. I'm actually
Mhm.
gonna say also the Chiefs, mainly because I do not
Stop
think
it.
that they should have been 9-0 before this past week.
Well, we have our own feelings about that. Are we opening up that can of worms again?
I
Stop
think
it.
that they're good. We're not going to open it up. I think that they are good, but I don't think that they were good enough to be undefeated for as long as they were.
Perhaps.
Let
Now
me
I
push
guess
out.
Surprised on
Let-
how they finished.
I considered the Chiefs as a potential pick too, but I think the one I felt more comfortable with as a bigger surprise for me was actually the Steelers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the
Yep.
Steelers were one that I thought would be decent, but I think their power ranking is like number 6 right now or something like that. Maybe number
Mhm.
7, I can't remember. But it's much higher than I thought they'd be.
Mike Tomlin
Especially
always
with
finds a
their-
way.
Quarterback situation. I was like, ooh, how's that gonna
Yeah.
work out? But
With both
Yeah.
of those guys coming in, I was like, it's going to be inconsistent. They're going to be sharing time. They're not going to get this figured out. Well, they got it figured out.
Now,
Tomlin finds
let's
a
talk
way.
about that. I just want to say for the Steelers here just a little bit though. We have to remember at the end of the day though, there is no clear offensive star that exists with that team. Like Russ isn't amazing. Is he better than he was with Denver? Yeah, absolutely. But and there's no start running back or I wouldn't say George Pickens is the top guy. He's not one wide receiver that we're looking at like a Devontae Adams who's on a horrible team. You know what I mean? And saying, oh my
Right.
gosh, look at this guy as offensive. It's funny because if we're looking at really top tier parts of the Steelers, obviously the defense is a big one, and that's anchored by T.J. Watt. We know that, and we know
Right.
that that's a big thing for them. But when we're talking about points too, you have to give Chris Boswell his flowers. I mean, he's the reason they won this game against the Ravens this past week,
100%.
and he's a good
100%.
kicker. Kind of a
Yeah.
kicker that kind of came out of the woodwork this year.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think I had pretty low expectations for him, but he has been fantastic. He's been consistent, and he has consistently been in hard game-winning scenarios where he's been able to hit 50-plus yard kicks to win the day.
Yeah.
That's a hard ask for any kicker, no matter who they are.
True. Last one I'm going to throw in there before we go into our disappointments here, because guys, I felt like they were eventually going to be good, but I didn't think they were going to get that good this quickly. The Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And
Jim
I feel
Harbaugh-
like they're about where I thought they'd be.
Really,
I
I
thought they
think
were
Jim
gonna be
Harbaugh
top
righted that
five.
ship sooner. I thought Jim Harbaugh righted that ship sooner than I thought he was going to.
Yep.
And I think part of that comes to the defense looks better than it did, previously. But then Herbert looks more comfortable this season
That's
than he does in years past.
I think
Yeah.
he's looking better than he's looked pretty much since he started.
Yeah.
And considering the weapons that they traded out,
Yeah,
I guess that's fair. I am
they got
surprised
gutted.
a little bit.
But you look at it too, and I just like to throw that out here real quick. The weapons that they got rid of, they're not exactly thriving right now. Like Austin Eckler is not the top back in
No.
Washington right now.
Mike Williams
Keenan
just
Allen
got-
is Keenan Allen, excuse me, is not the top wide receiver in Chicago, and Chicago's not doing well. But you
Right.
have the Chargers who are doing well.
Has Quentin
So
Johnson
maybe
learned how to catch again.
I think it
They
was
got
a
rid of the
smart
right
move.
ones.
Honestly, I think obviously we're gonna have to wait a couple more, maybe until next season. But I think Harbaugh's plan will come to fruition next year, and I think they're gonna have to pay Herbert. I'm not 100%
They
sure
already
on his
have.
They
contract,
already have.
but
They paid
okay, so
him
it was
2
it
years
this year or
ago.
last year? 2
It
years.
was 2
okay.
years ago, and he's one of the top paid quarterbacks. They paid him
Right.
bigger.
Yeah. But I'd be shocked if they didn't make moves.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Chargers have like the sixth most amount of cap space for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I would
then
look out next year.
2026, they're number 2.
But that's comforting because a lot of the rest of the AFC West has had a big question mark on it outside of the Chiefs. If the Chargers are there to threaten, we're not complaining. And the Broncos even look like they could threaten here too if they keep going on the trajectory that they are.
Right.
All right. I say we get into our mid-season award predictions so we can do a lot more of our for the fun because we're about halfway through our time.
You don't want to talk about any more disappointing teams?
Nah.
No, we'll just say the disappointing team that I'm glad is the Cowboys. Moving on, right?
The disappointing teams, they know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I throw 2 others I'm going to throw in there though, just really quick. Bengals and 49ers.
Yep,
Not good.
Bengals is probably a very big one. 49ers, I don't know. We might see a resurgence with CMC back.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
don't
think
know.
they haven't been though.
No, they're the
think
bottom
they-
of their division now. They are the bottom of their division
Yeah.
now.
It's
They're,
just
yeah,
too
but
much
they're tied
injuries.
with the Seahawks and the Rams, and the Cardinals are only up by 1 game. So
Yeah,
they
the
could make a
Seahawks and
surge,
Rams-
but
Yeah, I don't know. Seahawks and Rams look like they're going to stay good. 49ers look like they're regressing. And it's the
Yeah.
Super Bowl hangover. I don't know. That's all I have to say about the Niners.
yeah,
I think they're on the decline for sure.
yeah.
All right, yeah, let's go into our award predictions here. We obviously have to talk about all of the awards that we normally cover here when we've done this segment here in the past. We go over Coach of the Year, Comeback Player, the 2 rookie awards, the Defensive and Offensive Player of the Year awards, and then, of course, the MVP, which we usually just bag on as a quarterback award, and I think that may continue here in this segment here.
it's a quarterback
But-
award.
We'll save that one for the very end. Let's talk here about who we think the Coach of the Year award should go to here. So who wants to kick it off here as far as a Coach of the Year candidate?
I'll go ahead and go.
Okay.
I picked, I wasn't here for the episode when we gave our predictions at the beginning of the year,
Right.
but my prediction beginning of the year was Sean Payton, and it's still that. Especially if they make a good push to the playoffs and they can get into the playoffs. I feel like he'd be 100% in contention for Coach of the Year.
I can get down with that. I like the pick.
Mhm.
You know what? I'll go next. Because it's looking right. Because I'm seeing as we're typing on our document now. This is kind of fun, guys. We all have a different pick here. My pick is I'm going with Dan Campbell for the
Yeah.
Lions. Look, we
Okay.
knew the
I like
Lions
that
were
one.
going to be good.
Yeah, okay.
We knew they were going to be good, but I think more my thought process behind this is how good they are, the amount of points that they're hanging on there, and how he has such this strong bond with all of his players, and that everything is just firing on all cylinders within this within the realm of the Lions, and it starts at the top with him because at the end of the day, Jared Goff is a great player. Don't get me wrong, but we know that the true leadership of that team is its head coach, and it's Dan Campbell. He's a true leader. I think it should go to him. Do I think it will? No, but I like it. I like it
I
as
like
pick.
it. I can't argue against it.
So that's what I have to ask. Are we selecting who we want to win or who we think will win?
Yeah, if it,
Both.
I feel like at the end
Are
of the
they
day,
the same thing?
yeah, sorry, we should probably make this a little bit more clear here. Maybe just for the aspect of making it interesting here, let's not go as far as who we think it's going to be, because odds are we could probably predict it and most likely get it right, unless there's a big change towards the end, like Joe Flacco kind of jumping into the Comeback Player of the Year award last year. So I would say more here, it's who you think is deserving of it and why.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I'll go
Yeah.
Nets. I got Dan Quinn as mine, the head coach of the Commanders, and for the main reason, the Commanders, they picked at number 2. They were one of the worst teams last year, and he's leading them to potentially push into the playoffs, if not maybe even win the division, which I think that should solidify a lot of stuff. He's taking a rookie quarterback, and that team's just excelling when a lot of people, I think, had a lot of very low expectations for this team.
Sure, yeah. I and that if you were to ask me, Shane, I think probably who is going to win it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be Mike Tomlin. However, I have to agree that I would love to see Sean Payton win. Mostly because I think the Broncos, even after their start, which was a little slow, have made huge strides.
Yeah.
And I think it's more impressive what Sean Payton's been able to do, which is why I think it would be fun to see him take Coach of the Year. But I think considering where I think Mike Tomlin is going to get his team, I think he'll end up Coach of the Year personally.
I like that pick. I mean, obviously he hasn't been given his flowers much except for at the very end of the season when everyone's like, and they're finishing with a winning record again. But I mean, hey, something's working in Pittsburgh, and it always
The
seems to be.
fact that he can consistently do that is impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Comeback Player of the Year award. Anyone?
I can keep talking. I can keep
Go
going.
for it. Go for it.
I hate to just keep copying Matt here, but I'm going with Sam Darnold as well. Sorry, Matt, not to spoil what you're going to say here down the road, and feel free to change it. I feel that Sam Darnold is totally earning, totally deserving, and I really think he has a good shot at getting this award. It fits both my criteria of who I'd like to see get it and who I think could potentially get it.
For
So
sure.
that has me pretty excited. I think he's definitely earned it. I think everyone, especially myself, didn't think he'd have much of a shot. But here he is. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
I like that. I like that. Matt, you want to tack on to that?
No, I think he has to, because look at the list that everyone thinks are gonna be the Comeback Player of the Year. Honestly, for all the crap that Sam Darnold got when everyone knew he was going to be the starter, everyone dogged on him like, "Oh, the Vikings are screwed now." And then what he's been able to do, I feel like he battled against the odds, personally. But again, another person that I could probably consider, maybe Russell Wilson.
Maybe, yeah.
Like, if he drags him to the playoffs and wins a couple, or gets the AFC Championship or something wild like that, like, it's kind of obvious, but
Yeah, that for
I
sure.
would rather see Sam Darnold get it.
No, I get that. So my pick is going to be different. Let me preface by saying I feel confident that Sam Darnold is going to be the winner, but my pick is going to be Aaron Rodgers. Just kidding. No way. No, honestly,
Oh,
as
you
far
know,
as
if
what
Aaron Rodgers throws 5 touchdowns in one game, he's going to soar up to the top spot.
it's true, he will, and it'll be annoying. My pick for comeback player of the year. Look, I know that technically he did come back in last season, but it wasn't rolling well last season. And we've talked about him before as far as, there's an expectation of he wasn't going to play well, but now he is, and he's doing very well, and he's got his team in the top spot in his division. And I'm just wondering if we're going to just see the magic that we've seen from him, and the reason that he was picked number one overall all those years ago, and that's Kyler Murray.
Mm.
I like the pick just because I feel like he does need to be recognized. The fact he's come back from the ACL tear, playing now at a high level again with a team that, mind you, is still like just not that overly impressive of a team. The defense is still rickety. Marvin Harrison Jr. is still coming into his own. James Conner's a decent pick, you know what I mean? But Kyler Murray is who sets it all apart. He is the guy who anchors them all here at the end, and I feel like he needs to be recognized for that.
Yeah, fair enough. Like it.
I mean, I'll quickly say mine. I got Kirk Cousins. I mean, same thing, kind of injury, goes to another team's doing pretty well. I think the three that we have are probably the top three candidates for comeback player of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Let's go into defensive rookie of the year here. Matt, I may ask you to put your other pick here afterwards, but I'm just gonna kind of like spoil the show here just for all of us here because truth be told, all four of us here in some way, shape, or form picked Laiatu Latu as our defensive rookie of the year. But Matt, you also picked Jared Versus, as a potential other option. I think Laiatu Latu is probably going to be the guy who wins it. He has been playing well as that young rookie. He's been looking really, really good, and I think we all agree with that. But is there anything we want to add to that?
Nope.
Yeah. And Jared Verse could certainly be the other guy who comes up at the end.
I think he'll be between those two. That's why I put him in there, because it's like, okay, like it's gonna be one or the other. Like I don't think there's really anyone else realistically in the top spot. So
for sure. Moving to offensive rookie of the year here. Matt, hold off here for a second, and let's just do a quick response here. Shane, give your pick real quick. Just say who it is.
Jayden Daniels.
Tyler, give your pick.
Jaden.
I picked Jayden Daniels. But Matt, you disagree. Let's hear it. You've kind of already touched on this a little bit before, but let's get a little bit more into it.
So mine would be Bo Nix. Because, like we've talked to before, he's had that slow start. But he has been good since that start. It wasn't necessarily all his fault that they started out bad. So I feel like if he gets into that situation where he makes a late surge, gets him into the playoffs somehow, and like the same thing with Sean Payton being the coach of the year. If they make it to the playoffs and they run deep, I could see him getting the rookie of the year, especially if Jayden Daniels craps the bed.
Yeah.
Which the last couple weeks, it's like they're still doing good, but there's a couple of question marks, at least for me, to be like, will they do good in the playoffs? So especially since their last two losses were the Steelers and Eagles. It's like, could they survive the playoffs?
Yeah.
It's the same thing for Bo Nix, but if he can go further into the playoffs and get him into that playoffs, especially in his division, there's got to be some sort of weight for him to be kind of in the running for offensive rookie of the year.
If somehow, I'm just throwing this out here just because, this matchup would feed families, but let's say, for example, somehow now that the Chiefs have taken a loss, they start to regress a little bit. Let's say the Bills become the 1 seed and the Chiefs become the 2 seed. But the Broncos hang around just enough where they are right now, where they're the 7 seed, and that wild card matchup is between the Broncos and the Chiefs in Arrowhead. But the Broncos managed to upset the Chiefs in the wild card.
That would be wild.
That
would be wild.
Goodness.
That would be crazy.
In Kansas.
That would be awesome. Because honestly, they got the way they lost, it was kind of stupid, but
But you know
yeah,
it
that
won't
would
happen.
be
But you know
yeah.
what would happen, and here's why. And here's why, because you know darn well that the Chiefs and the Bills will meet each other again.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
Unless the
Yep.
Ravens step in to take care of something.
And they got to get past their division rival too. They haven't even won their division
Hey,
yet.
ideally, I'd love the Chiefs to go down in the wild card. That'd be
Right?
awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh man.
take them out early, but
Never,
no,
sure.
never happen.
we'll see.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Let's go on to let's see. Shane, you're gonna cover it for all of us here because we all agree. Who is our defensive player of the year pick?
I think everyone sees this coming from a mile away. I think he's the most noteworthy defensive player playing right now, and that's TJ Watt. TJ Watt is just so dominant on the defense that I think he just
Yep.
lifts that entire Steelers team up so much more than they should be. I mean, I think you take TJ Watt out and put another player in a spot, the Steelers easily go from 8-2 to probably like 5-5, if not worse.
right.
Yeah, I agree. All right, yeah, I think that summarizes defensive player of the year. Moving on to offensive player of the year, Tyler, why don't you cover all four of us?
I think this one's pretty easy as well. Saquon Barkley. He's been beyond fantastic. Easily one of the best running backs to ever play the game. Just has looked fantastic. He's been quick. He's been a bruiser. He's been everything the Eagles need him to be when they already have a fantastic mobile quarterback. I think it's just been incredible to watch him play. He's fun to watch, and I think everyone loves him,
And he's
despite
so
how good
happy
he is.
now.
Yeah.
What?
He's so happy now.
Yeah.
Yes, finally,
Yeah.
he's free.
He is
Right.
free.
Well, just like for all the highlights you've had, even like the one that obviously he jumps over backwards over a guy, it's like
Yeah,
besides that, he's had great plays. It'd be really hard to not give it to him, just because the MVP is a quarterback award.
I still
Not
think
yet.
of Gridiron Heights, where it's like where it was like the Sunday night matchup or something, and it's like Daniel Jones looks over to Eli. He's like, Eli, I'm scared, and he's like, it's gonna be okay. And then Eli turns over to Saquon. He's like, Saquon, I'm scared. And Saquon's like, it's gonna be okay.
Yep.
I gotta say, the one thing I did not realize about Saquon that I've really come to realize this year is how smart he is at the game of football. Watching him
Mhm.
pick routes and pick channels to choose when he's running the ball has been impressive. At first I was like, wow, he's really lucky, but it happens so consistently that I'm like, it can't be luck. He knows what he's doing. He's
Right.
always seems to pick the right way to go, and consistently he's winning. It's just incredible.
I love a good running back. All right.
Let's close it out here with MVP. Look, two of us agree on that. On the same person.
Really,
Matt, why
three of
don't
us.
you give explanation behind that, and then Shane and Tyler will go your guys' opinions after that.
My pick is the man Josh Allen.
Which is also my pick.
He's been consistent this year, and he's dragged a really crappy starting Bills team that everyone was unsure, they didn't have weapons, and look what he's doing with them. And then he also leads the team when needed as well. So I feel like that is literally the epitome of MVP. He raises up his entire team and makes the plays that need to be done.
And let's face it, he's been winning on and off the field.
Mhm. Definitely should be the NFL's couple
Yeah.
instead of
Ugh.
Taylor Swift.
I must say, I really appreciate how Haley is not getting in his way. She's not trying to.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that because I know some people will go in here and be like, excuse me, Taylor's not trying to take the spotlight. They just put it on her and stuff
He
like that.
is.
I don't
She
you
milks
know,
it a little bit.
Like,
I feel like she milks it, whereas Haley stays
Yeah.
out of the spotlight entirely. She won't even come near it. You know what I mean? Because she wants it to
Like-
be about Josh.
yeah. How many times do we see her in the Bills game against the Chiefs?
Maybe once. Maybe.
We don't.
From what I watched, I didn't see her one time.
Well, here's
Well,
the thing. They show her, But it's before the game starts when they're like setting
Right.
everything up.
It's not like he throws a touchdown and they shoot to her. You know.
It's when they show off all the celebrities that are supporting the football teams.
Right.
Well, and I'd like to point out too that the same situation happens with the Bears. They're not panning to Simone Biles every time the defense is on the field.
I mean,
You
heck,
know what I mean?
Right.
Eminem shows up at a Detroit game. They don't pan to him every second.
I want to
Yeah,
see him every second.
Yeah.
That's the celebrity I want to see.
I mean,
Right,
Eminem just seems like the funnest guy to watch during the football because he either looks so bored or he is so into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they
Yeah,
don't show.
that's-
Well, and the last one I'm going to throw in there too is going on this topic here. The Rams. It's a Rams game always has celebrities at it, and they show them once or twice. But when something big happens, you know, as far as a touchdown or something like that, they are showing the fans. They are not showing the celebrities every single time. They show them once. That's it. How come every time something minute happens within the Chiefs, we show Taylor Swift?
Anytime Travis Kelce does something, they basically show Taylor Swift.
It's like, oh, he got a 1 yard gain. Ooh, Taylor Swift. It's like, oh my gosh, stop.
That's where the issue lies.
He fumbled the ball. Look at Taylor Swift. She's pissed. You know, it's
Yeah.
like
Exactly. So anyway, Josh Allen, I think it's a great pick. I think right now he's the top odds maker. If he continues actually on this trajectory right now, he could win his first MVP.
Yeah.
But that's what Vegas is saying. We don't know what the AP is actually going to say. But that's Matt. That's yours and my pick. Tyler, Shane, let's hear what you guys have to say.
Gosh, I'm just
Go for
looking at
it,
Tyler.
Shane. Go for it.
I got, I think, the other number one option as of right now, which I have Lamar Jackson. I really think the competition's between Lamar and Josh Allen. They're both just on very good teams, both doing very, very well. I think Josh Allen definitely took a step above Lamar this past week with the Ravens loss against the Steelers, but I wouldn't count Lamar completely out of it yet.
no, not at all.
No.
There's a reason why he's been it multiple times. You know? So, yeah. And Tyler's just being, you know, different because he has to. You know.
I am not. I 100% am on board for Jared Goff. I think a lot of this, while it does depend on the individual player, is also going to ride with the team and how he looks on the team. I think the Lions are fantastic. I think my bet is they're going all the way, and I think Jared's going to get some credit for getting them there as well.
Fair enough.
I mean, I could dispute that with some stuff, but I don't hate the pick. The fact that the Lions could demolish a team without Jared Goff really doing anything all game tells you that they don't necessarily need the quarterback. But at the same time, Jared Goff will also do nothing one week and then come in and throw 5-6 touchdowns the next week.
Okay, but here's my counter to that. Is the time they didn't have Jared has been, you know, one of the closest games that they've had, right? They barely eked it out when Jared essentially wasn't playing his game. However, any time that Jared Goff has been playing like Jared Goff this year, they have obliterated the teams.
To be
To me-
fair, the teams they've obliterated have all been like bottom teams.
Oh, for sure. 100% agree. But well, and I wouldn't say 100%. I feel like they've played really well against some decent teams too, some top 10 teams, as a matter of fact. But it's always when Jared Goff is there. He may not be this spotlight character because he's surrounded by quite a bit of talent. But I think when Jared Goff is ready to play, the Lions are rolling, and there's nothing that will stop them.
And you know, one more thing to throw in there too. We were kind of dogging on Jared Goff in that game where he had 5 interceptions, and yeah, he did not look great. But may I remind you that the win, the fact that the Lions still won, actually came more so from Jared Goff than anyone else.
And he's
That he did snap
undefeated,
into a
throwing
rhythm.
5 picks in a game.
Yep, but then he threw a couple of touchdowns after that to get him back in the game and get him in a winning position.
I know, it's just,
Absolutely.
it's the funniest stat. It's like, it's not even like he's 2-0 when throwing 5 or more interceptions. No, he's like 8-0.
It's
It's
wild.
impressive.
All right.
All right.
We, which for the fun do we want to do? Because we have about 10 minutes left and we have 2 more sections.
Yeah.
I like the Mount Rushmore one.
Yeah, I do too, to be honest with you.
Alrighty. Let's head over to Mount Rushmore then.
So this is something that you typically hear a lot within the world of sports, especially when it comes to individual franchises, is who is your Mount Rushmore? Who are, for those who are listening that maybe aren't familiar with it, it's like, who are the 4 best players on your team that you often think of when you think of the franchise? So I had to explain this to my wife a little while ago when I used the example of who is on the Mount Rushmore for the Los Angeles Dodgers. This was right before they won the World Series a couple of weeks ago. Where I gave my options such as Sandy Koufax and Jackie Robinson among others. But for this one here, we're switching it up, making it a little bit interesting here, where we are giving our Mount Rushmores as far as who we believe belongs on the Mount Rushmore, those 4 players overall within the history of the NFL, but we're also taking our own individual franchises that we cheer for, and we're setting up who we think those 4 are as well. Now, there are some caveats that go with that. Like specifically, because they are the anchor of the offense, because they are essentially the top, usually the star of their franchise, we have to include a QB on our Mount Rushmore, both overall and also for our franchises. We also have to include a defensive player.
I wanted more
Outside of that,
players.
the other, I know Shane complained about it a lot today.
I wanted to
But
put so many like weird position players, but I couldn't.
But you could. Well, believe me, I take no comfort in the fact that I'm a Bears fan and the fact that I cannot throw a quarterback on there who's thrown over 4,000 yards because the Bears have never had a QB that's done that. So,
Yep.
believe me, I take no joy in that, but that's the way we have it set up. Outside of that, though, the other 2 spots, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, linemen, coaches, can be considered for those other Mount Rushmore spots. So, with that being said, Shane, because you complained about it earlier today, we're going to have you kick it off with your overall Mount Rushmore, your 4 players, and then we'll go into the Jacksonville Jaguars Mount Rushmore according to Shane.
Man, my overall Mount Rushmore was so hard because I wanted to put so many defensive players on there that I felt bad having to cut off certain players. But I gotta kick off with my number 1. I think he may be like one of my favorite players of all time. I think he's just a phenomenal player. He did so many things that you don't see very often that other players do. And I got Troy Polamalu, which I think for a lot of people that know me, this may not come as a surprise. The fact that he was just able to jump over linemen and get to the quarterback and just was able to time the quarterback snap so perfectly had to solidify him in my top 4 of all time. Next up, I got Emmitt Smith, just phenomenal running back. I think he leads all running backs of all time for rushing yards, so I put him up there because I love a good running back. I got Antonio Gonzalez because I think he's one of the best tight ends. I know a lot of people love Rob Gronkowski, Travis Kelce. I was also torn between grabbing Antonio Gates, but I decided to go for Gonzalez instead. For the last one, I have Peyton Manning as my all-time quarterback because I'm sorry, I'm still not the Brady person. I will never be the Brady person.
We know.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it just there's too many question marks with the wins he's gotten that I can't solidify him as that number 1.
We'll need to have this debate between you two, like outside the chat. And
I'll say
call.
I think he's a great quarterback. I don't think that he is number 1 with all the amount of question marks that have come about his wins. And the fact that he choked against the Giants not once but twice.
I gotta throw this out there though, just because I know this will get a laugh. Matt, does Shane kind of sound like a LeBron fan trying to explain?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
Hey, to be fair, Shania agrees with me that Peyton Manning is the best anyway, so ha!
Great.
2 peas in a
I
pod,
love it.
yes.
Oh, that's funny.
In a very
Alright, so
lowly pod.
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
so funny.
man, picking the all-time quarterback was hard because I really wanted to go with Drew Brees. I wanted to go with a couple of others, but I'm like, I gotta go with my guy Peyton.
Mm-hmm. Got it. How about your Jaguars Mount Rushmore?
I hate you for limiting me to 4 on this. So to premise this,
There's only 4 presidents on Mount Rushmore. Get over it.
Yep.
I know, but I wanted to put. You made me you forced me with a quarterback and a defensive player.
They'll add a
Wow.
fifth after this next 4 years.
Gosh.
About it.
Okay, so I'm gonna premise mine by saying I don't have our only Hall of Fame player on here. I think he's great, but he did have a short tenure in the NFL because of injury. But the time he was here, phenomenal. I think he definitely deserves it. But these are people that, like, when I think of my team, these are some of the people that come to mind. I got Maurice Jones-Drew. It was between him and Fred Taylor. Maurice Jones-Drew was just there for so long, did so many things. The fan base loves him, and now that he's a commentator and announcer, I love that he always pits his home team with the Jaguars, even when we're predicted to lose most of the time. He's like, you know what? He's like, I want my guys to win. I want them to win. So I have him up there. Number 2, I have a kicker. I have Josh Scobie, who was one of the most consistent pieces for like 10 to 13 years, and we won multiple games because all we could do was score a field goal, and it was all on him. Number 3, I got a more recent guy. I got the mayor of Satsonville, Calais Campbell. Love Calais Campbell. The whole city loved him. We really wish we had him for longer and that he was phenomenal and had him basically throughout his whole career. And last one, I have the only really solid quarterback besides maybe one other, and that's Mark Brunell.
Yeah. Pretty good picks.
Thank you.
Good picks. Okay, I will jump into my next. My overall Mount Rushmore. Unlike Shane, I do got to get on board as far as the quarterback I got on here is Brady, and that's just because I feel like when you're thinking of the legacy of the NFL and top playing quarterbacks, and the number of rings, that sort of thing, it's Brady. It's Brady. I got him up on there. Best defensive player that I've got on there, I got Lawrence Taylor. I love that player. I love, what he's brought to the game, his dominance, his pure dominance. I'll just use the example too. They talk about Lawrence Taylor right in the get-go with The Blind Side, and that's the only moment that, he's only in there for a second with the movie, but it shows the impact that he has had. Then I got Jerry Rice. I still believe Jerry Rice is actually probably more one of those players who could give Tom Brady a run for his money as a GOAT just because of the career that Jerry Rice had. Just absolutely phenomenal. And then my last one, I'm going one with a coach, and that's Vince Lombardi. Without Lombardi, the NFL wouldn't be that it is today, and that's the reason that the trophy is named after him. And I know I say that as a Bears fan who I'm celebrating a Packers coach, but But I feel like his name has to be on there at the very end. There's a reason the trophy is named after him. He has to be put on there.
Yeah, I get that.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Going on to the Chicago Bears Mount Rushmore, I'll kick it off here first with the quarterback, because again, like Shane's with the Jaguars, there's not really a notable QB when it comes to the Bears. There are a few here and there. I could have gone with Jim McMahon, but I chose not to, really because statistically, and most notably, the quarterback who would be there was Sid Luckman. Yes, he's before the Super Bowl era, but that is probably the quarterback that I would put on Mount Rushmore for the Chicago Bears, and probably the least familiar name for my Mount Rushmore. My other 3, they're pretty well known. Another one, George Halas. Owner, yes, but also coach. And the NFC Championship trophy is named after him too. Major founder and person involved within the NFL. He's got his footprints and his handprints all over the history of the NFL. He has to be put on there. The other 2, it comes down to their playing in general. Dick Butkus. He's on there because I feel like Butkus, the only other defensive player who you could put above him is Lawrence Taylor, who I mentioned earlier. Super talented defensive player. And then obviously the number 1 on the Chicago Bears, it can't be a Chicago Bears Mount Rushmore with this guy, but it's sweetness. It's Walter Payton.
I love Walter Payton.
So many good things to say about Walter Payton, necessarily just his record being still the number 2 running back all time in yards. But also, the Man of the Year award is named after him. There's just a lot of amazing things that Peyton did. So yeah, that's my list right there. It helps when you have one of the longest tenured histories when it comes to NFL franchises. But there are definitely some good names that could be thrown out there, but also some that I had to skip as well. So Shane, I do feel your pain as far as ones who I could put on there. I grew up with Brian Urlacher and Devin Hester,
Oh man,
and
I almost put Devin Hester on my all time.
I couldn't put him on there, so I get it.
I do love the Urlacher pick. That was one of my favorite things growing up. Was me and my friend playing Madden and trying to injure Peyton Manning. We would just slam Brian Urlacher into Peyton Manning all game long. It never worked. He never got injured.
Oh man.
We took every big hitter defensive player and none of them injured Peyton Manning.
Yeah. Funny.
All right,
All
Tyler.
right.
All right, I'm ready.
Oh,
I'm ready.
I skipped Matt. Matt, I'm sorry.
Matt, do you want to go first? I'm happy to allow you. If I mean,
No, you're already
you
talking.
know what? All right, I was gonna say I'm already talking. I'll just keep going.
I apologize, Matt. My dog
just-
too far.
Despite how much unlove I have for the Patriots, I gotta. Oh man, it's been so hard. I would never ever want to see Tom Brady's face on Mount Rushmore or any sort of mountain. I don't have any love for him, but he is the epitome of like the NFL from 2000 to 2020. Like it's the Tom Brady season. Everyone knew who Tom Brady was. So unfortunately, I'm going to put him up there. Not because I'd want him up there, but because he probably deserves to be there. And regardless of what I think, I would hope that others would do the same.
Yeah.
Jerry Rice, I think, would be a fantastic pick as well. Joe Montana, I think, was fantastic, and Reggie White as well are my overall Mount Rushmore picks.
Tyler, I do have to throw out really quickly though. I had to give my wife a little bit of a hard time because she just really started getting into the NFL last year and she chose the 49ers as her team. And about a month ago, I was hyping up Joe Montana and Jerry Rice, and she was like, "Who are these players again?" I was like, "Oh my gosh, oh, what have I done?"
Oh no, there's a gap. There's a gap in the learning. It's okay. There's still time.
Yeah.
Hey, it's all good. It's all good. Everyone learns in their own time. The fact she's never heard of Joe Montana hurts me a little bit, but it is what it is. Especially living here in Utah, I feel like Joe Montana has such a with oh my gosh, his name just left my mind.
Steve
What?
Young.
Steve Young coming in right with Joe Montana. I feel like it's fine. It's fine. Anyway, so my Falcons Mount Rushmore. I'd have to start with Tommy Nobis. I had to go all the way back back to the beginning. I wanted at least someone who was an old timer. Fantastic linebacker. He was actually known as Mr. Falcon, so I feel like he had to be in my lineup. Mike Smith, I wanted a coach in there too. I feel like had to represent a couple different places here, so I wanted Mike Smith. I mean, I cannot complain about most of the coaches Falcons have had. Arthur Smith was not my favorite, although I think he did okay. Dan Quinn, I loved. I'm even excited to see what we've got right now. But Mike Smith was awesome. Loved him. I think Julio Jones. Now, this one is a little more selfish for me just because Julio Jones was one of the reasons I started liking the Falcons. So regardless of whether he really will go down in history as one of the greatest wide receivers the Falcons have had, he's there for me. So maybe I'm hoping the most biased I'll be in these picks. But I mean, we're talking record-breaking, physically dominant, consistently amazing, and just game-winning impact. There's very few people who don't know the name Julio Jones and weren't scared of him. I just, Jet Jones, he's the man.
Yep.
And then of course Michael Vick. I debated Michael Vick a little bit due to some of his history. But what is a Mount Rushmore if we're all flawed people, you know?
Yep.
And no one can debate how athletic this dude is. Um, just absolutely incredible. It seems like in a lot of ways he changed the way quarterback is viewed, just with his abilities to move, to throw, to move the ball down the field in different ways than most people I think had seen before. And frankly led the Falcons to several championships. So Michael Vick, I think, is a pick for me. I really debated putting him as my QB pick, but I think I can be happy with it. So I felt like I already made the selfish pick for Julio Jones. I took Matt Ryan, but I have a special place in my heart for Matt Ryan as well. I feel like he's just such a wholesome dude.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I like the Michael Vick pick though because I feel like that is he was Lamar Jackson before Lamar Jackson.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say he's the first running quarterback, but I think he's definitely one of the ones to make it a game changer as a running quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, anyway.
Sweet.
I'm so used to us all arguing. I'm just waiting for all the smash back. I'm just like, okay, I'm ready to defend. I got
Terrible
my
picks.
Oh,
My
no,
picks
Just
are on.
stop. Get out of here with those picks.
Yeah, no, I mean I agree.
Falcons all time. Whatever. I'm just kidding.
All right,
Thanks,
man.
Matt. I
Well,
feel good now.
Okay, so first off, at the premise, like why I picked the people I did for my Mount Rushmore, because I tried to keep it a quarterback, one defensive player, and then running backs or wide receivers. So I tried to keep it even instead of just giving like my top players, right? So
Yeah.
First off, overall, Mount Rushmore, it's gotta be Tom Brady.
Right.
Like, sorry, it's just we've been over this. Oh yeah, you want your opinion too? My daughter's with me, so she's giving her opinion too. But
Good for her.
yeah, and she likes the Tom Brady answer. Oh, see, she likes the Tom Brady answer.
Yeah, she was almost cool.
Oh, but after that, honestly, is really hard to choose. Ronnie Lott was the one I put down first. He's a legend. But the second one for me, honestly, would probably be Ed Reed, because dude's a man on defense. Third pick would be Randy Moss. I feel like he was just the guy all the time. I love watching him. And then when he was on the Patriots, it was honestly the best time to watch when him and Brady were combined together. And then my last pick would actually be LT, LaDainian Tomlinson. I feel like he played. I just felt like when he played, I hated seeing all the highlights. And then when he played against the Patriots, it's like you knew he was going to have a good game.
Right.
So, plus that black visor always, every game was just awesome.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. Those are good picks.
Yeah. So, and then we'll move on to the New England Mount Rushmore.
Oh boy. Keep it just to one because I see you putting slash and slash on a
Yeah,
couple
I
of them.
know. It was so hard for me to choose, but first one, obviously, it's Drew Bledsoe. I'm just kidding. It's not. It's Tom Brady. So, after that, it was really hard. I wanted to throw a lineman in there, but honestly, they've had amazing linemen.
It's
But
true.
John Hanna is just, everyone knows him. You know, I feel like he's one of those notable offensive linemen. You also got Logan Mankins. You got Matt Light. Like, there's tons of great linemen. But got to throw one on there. Number 3 pick. To choose out of the 3 I have, it'd have to be probably Wes Welker. I think he played phenomenal in the slot. You know, he did his like some of the stuff he was able to do, take his hits when he was going over the middle when football was actually football, was impressive for how small the guy was. Could take a hit and just keep going. And then the fourth pick I have went for the defensive side, and out of the three I have, you got to go with Teddy Bruschi. He's the only one that was kind of just they're always there as a Patriot, and I feel like he led the team on the defensive side of the ball, and he was always a good presence. So
Oh, it's good picks.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then
Yeah.
with that kind of completes what we've talked about here.
Mhm.
Moving ahead into this upcoming week. There's a couple of good games that I think we'll have to look forward to, just seeing how those are
Yep.
going to play out here. I'm trying to think. We're coming to the end as far as the regular season for fantasy football. For most of us here in larger leagues, there's only like 1 or 2 weeks left.
Yep.
And then we'll just keep going on from there. We're starting to see things shape out. Anyone got any opinions as far as I guess you could say the top teams in each division, or not division, excuse me, each conference? It's looking right now like the Lions are the best team in the NFC, and right now I want to put the Bills above the Chiefs in the AFC. Are we kind of in agreement with that?
Yep. 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
it's going to be exciting. I'm curious to see where this goes here for the end of this season, as far as what how things are going to shake out in that regard here. But for the time being, we've had a little bit of fun here. We'll talk about more of that fun stuff going to our episode. Not next week, because next week is our Thanksgiving bye week, if you will. But once we come back in December, we'll be chatting more, sharing more for the fun, going back into some of our picks for as we move towards the last month of the regular season. And yeah, it'll be a great time.
Yeah. Should be good.
Okay.
I think the one
Yeah,
game
go ahead.
I'll say this before we all get off. I think the one game I'm looking forward to,
Yeah.
is obviously the game that I think everyone wants to watch. It's just it's not this week, but it's obviously for Christmas. But I think the Giants and the Cowboys will be a good game to watch. Coming up, I know
Yeah.
that one's been all over. You got DeVito and Cooper Rush.
Oh my goodness.
It's just gonna be awful. I can't
I
wait.
wonder, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's the only exciting one for Thanksgiving games might be the Dolphins and the Packers, since the Dolphins are kind of starting to roll now here. That might be the only good one because Giants and Cowboys, like you said, it's Cooper Rush and Tommy DeVito, and then it's the Bears and the Lions are gonna absolutely massacre the Bears.
So it's like I feel like this holiday season it's gonna be very
Underwhelming.
it's like taking a nap won't make me feel guilty and missing the game.
Yeah.
I'll get the
Cowboys is
final
gonna
score
help you
later.
take a nap on Thanksgiving.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
But it should be good. We'll keep the text chat alive.
Yes. Absolutely. We'll have fun on that day for sure.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, with that,
Absolutely.
thank you everyone who tuned in for tonight. Wow, I'm getting tired, clearly. And yeah, like we mentioned, we won't have our episode next week because it is Thanksgiving. But until next time, we'll look forward to seeing you guys in December.